All the things. Oh, look at this. Makeup? That's right.
There you go. Otherwise, it's gonna drive me crazy.
Okay, Mo Fister, you are live.
Live from Issaquah Sewing. It's SewTime. Hey everyone, this is Mo here at SewTime. And this week we are so honored. We are being joined by Roxanne Carter, a prolific sewer and quilter in the Northwest community. And today she is going to share some tips and some tricks about quilting. And we all could learn a little something new each and every time we sit down for our sewing. And also today, stay tuned when Roxanne is finished because we have a lot of announcements about what's going on here. There's so much happening in this store. Just know that we're going to let you all know, and we'll follow up with newsletters, but be sure to read our newsletters. So many events happening. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Roxanne Carter. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
So I used to teach all up and down the coast of Washington. At one time I was teaching 27 classes a month of quilting. And so that gave me an opportunity to touch a lot of bases, a lot of quilters, and I loved every minute of it. When COVID hit, that kind of stopped. We didn't have the shops have classes anymore. And then when they did come back to have classes, everybody had to wear a mask and nobody really wanted to sit there for 3 hours and wear a mask. So I retired. So when they called and asked me to do this, I was kind of surprised because I haven't really done any of this in about 3 years. So I really appreciate having them come and ask me to do this. Since I've been retired, I've been playing around with a lot of different techniques and a lot of different tools, a lot of different ideas. And the first one I wanted to show you is the X block. And that I gave you a handout. Everybody has their own handout there. And it's a very simple one to do. And so, I don't have one to show because
We can set it like
we can sit it right there. Well, yeah, kind of like that. I'm not sure exactly where. There we go. But it's a really simple quilt, and the quilt itself is on the wall back behind me, which we'll see later. All we need to do is to take and sew 3 strips together. The 3 strips we have here are your main focus fabric, and my quilt here, the green is the main focus, and then all the other strips they're just 2.5-inch strips. So the main focus fabric here is just your strip set. I have my background that I kept the same in every strip set, and I have the focus fabric that I kept the same. And then I have accents that go there. The easiest way of doing this is to take a 4.5-inch square. You don't need an extra ruler, fussy ruler. You just take one tip of the ruler and you put it on one seam, and the other seam corner of the ruler, opposite corner, right on the other seam. Just as you see here, they're both on the seams. And then we're just going to cut this out. Just like that. So this is our piece right here. You can actually get 2 blocks out of one strip set. And that's really quite a savings. And so if you have 21 strips, you get 42 blocks, which makes exactly what we have on the handout. When you lay the blocks out, you can see here that I put the accent color in the middle, and then I just rotate them around in my little block here. And so there we have it. So there's your block right there. So that's it right there. Just kind of show you there. And so when you put all of those blocks together, you get the stars of the green and you get the stars of the print. Now I have some quilts here that one of my girls made. And this one was using all different black prints. And then the red is her main fabric, and the white is the the background fabric in this one. So that was a really,
Cool.
Yeah, I should take a picture too. Thank you.
Okay.
This one she used just 2 fabrics, well, in the background. But this one here is,
Ooh, it has Minky.
yes, and the minky's on the back. So you'd have just the same block over and over again, and when you put them together, you get this design.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter how they go. And then there's this one up here. So this one here is the three different kinds of laying out of that block. So that makes it a really fun way of doing it. You can use all your 2.5-inch strips to get this kind of a design. So any questions? Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, you can just
All right.
right there.
Does it matter when you're laying your ruler down on the strip set? Okay, when you lay it down, you have done it a certain way. Does it matter if you,
If you go that way,
yeah,
as long as all of them are
or
that
that
way.
way? Okay,
You can't do half of them this way and half of them that way, or they won't go together.
okay.
Yeah, they all have to go the same direction.
Great
Yes.
question.
Was that a 4.5 inch?
This is a 4.5, and it is the Creative Grid Ruler that I absolutely love. They've got them here for us. It is, what I love about it is got the grip on the back so it doesn't slip on us. And that really, I think, helps a lot. So just putting your two corners, opposite corners on on your strips, like it shows there. And I could get 3 more out of here, which would give me this
So it
block and
doesn't
this
go
block.
all the way to the edge of, oh, it does go to the edge on, you can't. quite
Here
see
it doesn't, or here.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay,
No, just by skosh.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that's just,
technical.
it's just a fun one. I gave you the handout so you know exactly what you need to do to make it. So, okay, we'll take care of that one. So I have a list here somewhere. If I can know what they're doing, and I can't find it. There it is. So, excuse me. The stripper is the next tool that I am very passionate about. It's the Creative Grid Stripology XL, and we do have some here. I know it's a little expensive, but it is the best time saver I can tell you that you can have in your quilting supplies. I'm just going to kind of show you here. It does take a little bit of pressure going down, but I take and I bring my selvages up to my fold evenly, and then I take my stripper and I put the black line at the bottom here, and I that over there. Oops, get on up. Get up there. And then I can take my cutter here, and I want to trim off my first, so I start at 0. And then the 2.5-inch markings are at the squares, and the stars are 1.5-inch markings. So I can just take and I can just cut 2.5, 5, 7.5 to 10. I can just completely go all the way over to 20 and have all my strips cut, and they're just perfectly little 2.5-inch strips. And this is just to me a big time saver. So say I need to cut these into 4.5-inch segments.
Do you ever get that little bumpy thing or that wavy thing in this, when this,
If you fold your fabric so that your selvages line up to the fold, and it's pretty even, I mean, you have to keep them even all the way across, then you shouldn't get that little dip at the corners.
okay.
So if I wanted to cut this now into 2.5-inch squares, I could just do 2.5s, or I could do 4.5s. Oops, start at 0, and then 9. And I know my math, so I know how to do that. And so here's all your little pieces. But I mean, it is such a time saver for me to be able to do everything with my, oops, yeah, I didn't cut quite hard enough. But you can get so many of your segments done so quickly with the Stripology ruler. The reason that I'm strongly recommending the Stripology XL is because the very first one that they did, it only went up to about here, to 11 or 12. And when you folded your fabric, it didn't go all the way up. So the new one has all the wonderful markings, and it has the grid on the back to keep it in place. So I really recommend that. The next thing I wanted to show you is the flying geese. Here's my flying geese. Where are my flying geese? Here's my flying geese. Okay, get rid of all the dust. Go away. Okay, so There's all my little segments for that. Okay, so I passed out a handout to show you how to do flying geese the Eleanor Burns way, which is the way I prefer to do that. I've given you all the sizes on there. And so it's just, to me, it's the easiest way of doing them. You get 4 geese out of one set of squares. I know there's many other ways of doing the flying geese, but this is the way that I prefer, so that's what I'm showing you. This quilt here, when you see all these little geese going down, these are all made with this method, and I've done 1 by 2, 1.5 by 3, and then the 2 by 4. It's all the same thing when you're trying to do this kind of thing. So we start with our squares, and you want to make sure that your squares, you center your small square on top of the bigger square. The math is your finished size is, say, 4. You would add 1.5 to that, and that would create the smaller square. Then you add 1.5 to that, which would be 7. So the first one's 5.5, and then 7 are your 2 sizes. And you have that on the chart, but that's how we determined all the measurements. So we center the 2 on there, we draw a diagonal line, and you're going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides of the line. And I don't think I have that one. When you get those done, you press always to the larger triangle. Always press to the larger piece. Then you take those 2 and you put them opposite. So right side together though. So you put the dark to the light and the light to the dark, and you match up the corners, and then you draw a diagonal line and you sew 1/4 inch on both sides of the line, and you get, oh, where are you? I had this all this morning, and now there it is. Nope, I cut it up. Okay, so we have this, I'll do it this way. So we would have that right there. So that's what we would have. We would have a line there, and we'd sew 1/4 inch on both sides, cut up the middle of that, and then we take our scissors and we fold this in half, and you slit down to the center seam. Boom. And then we can press again to the larger square. In this case, it's my print. So I'm going to press that way, and then this one is going to go to this side. So they're going in opposite directions, and that's really important for the pressing. Then you can take your flying geese ruler, the small end of the large is the one that goes here for this one, and you would just place it right in the center there and cut out. There's also another ruler that's out there called the block locks, and it locks right onto the seam. And so then you can just cut around that. So you have 2 different choices here to get those. I know this store doesn't have these, they have these, but
Yeah,
that's another tool.
Are you getting a block?
We don't, at this point for distribution, we don't have a connection of the distribution.
Yeah, so, but I know they do have them on Amazon.
Yeah.
Shush. So, I mean, that's how you do the flying geese. So when I'm cutting my flying geese out of here, let me show you how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and use the block lock because that's my favorite. It locks right onto there, and then I can just cut. And you have a little bit of waste down the center, and that little bit of waste is all right, because when you slit that seam, that waste isn't there. And so here is right there. So actually, I want to use the other ruler to show you how you would do it. Where did I put it? It's here. Here it is. So put the ruler right down there. So you have red lines are on the seam lines, and then we trim here and here and there, and then we would just turn this upside down, put the bottom red line on the bottom, and then trim the top. Right there, or the bottom in that case. So you get either way. You get a great way of doing flying geese.
Sized.
Should I wait till the end?
Well, those are
Huh?
points.
Should I wait till the end to ask a question?
No, ask questions.
Can you open the seams?
Not using the block clock, you certainly
And then-
can
I mean, when you-
on
if we
on
press them?
this one. You certainly can with this one, yes.
So when I go to press it, can I open the seam?
You can.
Does that help?
I don't know.
I'm making some with 1.5 by 2.5, and then a 1.5, the little squares.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm about ready to tear my hair out.
I've just always pressed to the larger triangle. It just seems to
And
be,
then snip.
to do it. It just seems to me, I think it's a little bit better, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that one. I've
I
never
just was
tried
wondering
pressing
about
them
the
open.
bulk or something.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's fine.
I'll try that.
Okay, so, alrighty. Let me just get rid of a little bit of this. I'm gonna leave a couple of these out here because I want to show the next thing. Okay. So, one of the quilts that I've been working on is this one here. This is, I bought this pattern. It's called Confetti Stars by Material Girls. And it is a beautiful pattern. And I really like the quilt. It was done with 10-inch squares. And you take the 10-inch squares and you cut diagonally down the center. And you have a background square and a print square. And then you get your diamonds out of, you get everything out of them. And so one block has the dark here, and there's another block that has the light there. I didn't like the fact that everything was a bias edge. I'm just kind of fussy about that.
Yeah.
So I came up with another way of doing it. And so.
Such a comedy.
Folding, I know.
There we go. I got it. There we go.
So what I did on this quilt here, maybe if I get back to this way, you guys might be able to see. On this quilt here, I did just 2.5-inch strips for these pieces and a rectangle for this one, or square that I cut once diagonally for this piece. And so how I want to show you how I did that. And this pattern is available. It's called Honeycomb. And so it's just all right here. And on the very last page is a template to show you if you don't like the way I'm doing it, you can do your own way, but it's all right there. So.
And the patterns she's showing you,
Yes,
we have here for sale today.
Yes, they have patterns.
So
right
any
here.
of these 3 quilts, you can purchase a pattern.
So what I have here is I have my 2.5-inch strip. To cut the diamonds, I use the 2.5-inch by 12-inch ruler. I love this ruler. It's a kind of a new one for me, but I'm using it for everything. I just love the ability for it. It has the 45 line, so I have the 45 line at the top. I would have it first cut off my line, and then you can just cut on this side and just continue to move it down to get your 2.5-inch diamonds. This particular piece is a 7 and an 1/8. I know my students absolutely yell at me every time I try and do 1/8 of an inch on any of my cuts, but that's what it has to be. And so I told them to live with it.
And we say, yes, ma'am, and we do.
Yes, that's right. So this one is measured 7 and an 1/8. And so I have my ruler here. I put my 45 at the top and I bring the ruler over until I am at 7 and an 1/8 on my ruler, my mat here. And you can have the 45 there or at the bottom, it doesn't matter. And then I would cut. And that gives me the exact size that I need for this piece right here. Then I have my diamonds. And we are going to take and we're going to put the diamond onto this piece. And let me see if I can put it on the board so I can show you easier. So it goes like this and like that. So that's the shape right here. And, or somewhere on there. There's many blocks combinations. And so what I found for most people, if we use the corner clipper, this is my favorite tool too. This and this, I couldn't live without them. It's the folded corner clipper by Creative Grid. And again, it's got those wonderful grids on the back to keep it in place. I take this little guy here and I place it alongside at the top. And then I take my cutter, my ruler, and I place the ruler so that straight edges at the top, and I line up these two edges, and I would notch that off there, and then I turn this around and I notch that off there. I notch it so that they're going straight down, so that when we put, so that's it right there. So then when we put our diamonds on, you know exactly where to line it up, because you're lining up this straight edge to that straight edge, and then you sew off. And so that really helps. And so then if you don't have that, then you're trying to sew this on. You're trying to eyeball, is that the same length as that one? And so it just really does make a difference in when you're trying to. So I use the folded corner clipper for a lot of my things. And so that's how this one is going together. And so that is just a really fun quilt. One of my gals does everything in red, white, and blue. And this is her quilt. Here. Beautiful. So this is the same exact layout. I just took it and did it in another colorway. So it's just a really fun method, and it doesn't take much time to do it.
I think we did it.
We did it. The other thing I use the corner clipper for is when you're taking and you're sewing your binding strips. We'll pretend that this is a binding strip, and this is the next one we're going to sew together. Normally we would sew from corner to corner like we would normally do. If you take both of these and you place them right side up, you put your folded corner clipper on the bottom down here, and you cut here and here. Then these two will line up perfectly right there. And so I do all my bindings this way. I do the same thing for my borders. This is great for any border 5-inch or under. Just cut. I always tell people to sew your border strips together on a 45-degree angle so that the seam kind of disappears. If you cut a seam right down the middle of something, you really are going to see where the pattern disrupted. If you do it on a 45, you really don't see it as much. And so I would do this as my borders as well.
Can you lay that up on your little design wall?
Yes, ma'am.
And show us what you did.
Okay, we'll do that. Yes. So, right here,
Right sides up.
both right sides up. Yes, very important. Both right sides up. I lay my ruler right there. I would cut there and cut there.
Wow.
So I'm just lining up the bottom. You can also do it this way, but that just kind of confuses me. But I mean, you can do that, but you just can't get that corner trim there. So I always just do it that way, the bottom.
Boy, that's cool.
I will tell you, Creative Grid has YouTube videos on every one of those rulers, I think. I know most all the one that I have. I know they have it on this, they have it on this, they have it on the 2.5-inch. They have wonderful videos on showing you how to use your rulers. And so please go in and look at them when you buy them, because they are so helpful. They really do tell you just how to do it all the time. So let's see what was on my, this one here is another one that I'm using that same thing for. This is the pattern. I'll show you there. That's the pattern I'm doing. And these pieces down at the bottom are the ones that, that I'm going to show you how to do. So when you're trying to take two pieces of fabric, okay, this is the block right here that I'm making, and it's just the same old block over and over. And so they're at different angles. So what I have here is I have my pieces, and I know in my pattern I tell you, or will tell you, it hasn't been written yet, that you put both of these pieces, first one, the green one, down. Both of them are right side down, and I'm sorry I picked a batik so you really can't tell. But yeah, that's more like that. And so then I will take my corner clipper and I would place it on here like this, So, and cut my angle right there, which is what I have here somewhere. There it is. So that would, that's the wrong side up, and it would be like that. So I would be cutting that angle. So then I can take this one and I can take this one and I can sew them together by just overlapping them like that. Otherwise, I would have to take this one and put it like this and then sew that angle. And I never hit both of those right. I just can't seem to do it. So that'd be the same angle. I think it's the right angle. Yeah. So that's why I like the corner clipper, because it really shows me where I need to sew. And I don't have to, I have a guide on my sewing machine that keeps my 1/4 inch right there. So I do it all with, that's the way I do it. Also, where's our little tape? We have any, I think we sold out this morning.
No, the round one I saw.
Oh, here it is.
something
It's underneath all this. There it is. Okay. So this is Cluck Cluck Sew's 1/4 inch tape. They've really done a wonderful job. It does not leave a residue on your sewing machines. And so we have the tape that we just put your needle down in the machine and you place this right in front of it. If you have the bobbin plate that comes off, I just kind of cut it right there and just so you can take your bobbin plate off. But it's just lining it up straight so that you can do it. And then you just can go right by the black line for 1/4 inch or your diagonal lines for your red one. So that's kind of also a nice tool to have. I love this tape. It's on all my machines.
And we did sell out of it this morning, but just let us know at the register, and because we're definitely ordering more in right away.
Yeah,
We sell a lot of that. It's really
it really
popular.
is a great product to have. So then, so that's going to be this block. So when I get all of these sewn together and everything, it should come together kind of like that. And then the white will go, this is going to go this way. And by pressing all the seams in the same way I would tell you, you would get all your seams are going to butt into each other. So those are going to kind of go there, and I don't have the others cut, but do I have a white one? So that one's going to go just like that. So it's going to have a V there. Stick a white one underneath and you'll see it. So that's going to be the block right there. So it's just a kind of a zigzaggedy, but it really makes, I think, a fun design. So it's just that little corner block, and when you put 4 together, you get the green star, and when and you get the blue star when you put the rows together. So it's just kind of a fun thing to do. I'm just trying to have fun. I am just really into making things easier, making things simpler for you to do.
What's the pattern called?
She's still writing it.
Well,
We did it. We said it yesterday, and I can't remember when we came. Right now, my working title is "New for Julie 2." I have written 385 patterns, and I have 4 books. I am running out of names, so we named it something, and I don't remember what we named it. Something Pinwheels.
And also, I wanted to say that Roxanne has YouTube channels, for instruction, as well as an Etsy shop. And so when all is said and done here, we are going to do a newsletter to our SewTime members, letting them know what are those links for her Etsy shop to buy patterns or her YouTube channel to see more instruction.
Yeah. So, in 2019, just before COVID hit, I did a sampler, and it was a technique sampler, and it was every month was a new technique. And I did a YouTube video on every single technique. So you can kind of go through and just see what they were. And if you want the pattern, it is available on Etsy. But it's a wonderful way of learning all the different techniques that I could think of in a quilt. So there's half squares, flying geese.
We have a couple questions.
Oh,
So just real quick, Susie Lynch says hi.
hi, Susie.
And Dorothy St. Pierre says, Eddie, you are a great camera person. I love you. I kind of embellished that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nancy Agler has a question. Are there handouts for online viewers?
Yes, And what I'm going to do is the document that we have passed out here today, I'm going to scan it in the computer. So it will be part of that thank you as well. So those who are viewing at home will get it as a scanned image.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. I didn't know how to work with that. Yep. Okay, I have one last thing that I really want to show you, and then we can do some show and tell and such. I have this pattern here behind me, and I found it on Pinterest, and I've seen hundreds of different versions of it. I wanted to make it, so I drew it up on the computer, and then I started to make it, and I thought, this is really, it's paper pieced, was paper pieced. It's not now. It was paper pieced. So I figured a way of doing faux paper piecing. Okay, so this is my method, and this is on Nancy. I only brought a few of these patterns. I don't even know if they purchased them. But what we do is we have freezer paper. They have their own freezer paper. This is the one these are two different brands that I've been using. Inkjet, they can go right in the printer. And it's just wonderful. So this is the paper that you get. And so by putting it onto freezer paper, I've got here, see it's shiny. We can then cut them out and put them on the papers after we sew the pieces together. So let me show you here what we do. And so what we do is we are sewing two different versions. Okay, so this one here, the dark is on the bottom and our seams are pressed down, but we hang over a 1/2 inch this way and a 1/2 inch that way. On this one, our background is at the bottom, which is pressing all our seams up, and we're hanging over a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. Then what we do is we take and we put our freezer paper down, whoops, on the seams. So here's my one that I tore it off of this afternoon. Here it is. So what we would do is we would take this, cut our piece out, we place it so that the seam of this guy here is on the seam that we sewed, flip it up, iron it down, and cut it out. And so when we get it all cut out, we have this. So one corner would be one of each, and so you just make 4 of each to make a block. And so when you're pressed everything the way it's pressed, all these seams nest into each other, so you get nice sharp points. The only key is making sure that this seam is on that seam and that this one is close to that seam right there. And so you just line it up. So it's kind of a faux paper piecing, but it's a really cool way of doing it. I've had several students say they just love this technique. So that's what I had to share. Is there any questions? I guess
A
not.
lot to learn.
Wow, you're very knowledgeable about this.
Well, thank you.
How long have you been quilting?
I have been quilting for 33 years.
Ah,
Actually, before that, I used to make blankets and things in the 80s, but kind of gave it up a little bit, and then I got back into it when I moved up here to Washington. So, yeah. So,
Awesome.
love what I do. I am the luckiest person in the world to be able to do what she loves to do 24/7. So, thank you. All right.
Okay, I do have a list of things I want to talk about. We have so many classes and events that are coming up very soon. And emails will come out, look for them. They're usually titled classes and events so that you can see what's happening. But I'm going to give you a heads up. In July, on the 15th, the AccuQuilt representative, Pam Heller. I don't know if you are familiar with the AccuQuilt cutting system, but Pam Heller is really the person who does much of their training. And she is going to be coming into our store. She's going to be running 2 different sessions, one at 10 a.m. and one at 2 p.m. In the morning, she's going to talk about how do you use that cube system that AccuQuilt puts out. And in the afternoon, she'll be talking about how you manipulate the bob dies, because the bob dies are a little bit different. And so it's a free event. So sign up so we can make sure we have enough seating for everybody. And it is a lecture demo. So she's going to come in with a trunk show and then demonstrate for all of us the most effective way to be using our AccuQuilt cubes. That's in July. Also, next August, our SewTime event, I think, happens on the 24th. And what that theme is going to be is all about bag making. And what we have is the By Annie company, who has hundreds of bag making patterns, is going to send us a trunk show. And we're going to have examples of many of their patterns so you can see what does it look like on the inside and how do the zippers work and etc. And then in our beautiful classroom here, we're going to start teaching bag making classes. If you see on the calendar immediately, there are 3 bag making classes. One is a phone case, one, and I will bring it in during show and tell. One's a little zipper pouch. And these classes are what we call 101. When you're using a By Annie pattern, she has a specific way she likes you to manage binding and how do you manage zippers. And they're very unique but really effective ways. So if you take a 101 class, then you're all going to be ready for us to launch into a larger project. And then as a group or a team, we're going to hear from people, what is that larger project you'd like to do? So look forward to us doing more bag making.
And our instructions are really good.
Her instructions are great. And they do
And
come
another
with videos.
Will that be any embroidery machine necessary?
No, this is strictly
Okay.
sewing, right? Good question. Good question. And then we have our wonderful ESQ event. Now, ESQ is a 3-day event that we're doing off-site in a hotel, and it is 3 separate rooms that are set up. And one is for serging, and a Bernina ambassador will be here hosting that. One will be quilting, and we are going to have a Janome representative managing the quilting room. And one will be a day of embroidery, and it's with yours truly. And it's going to be so much fun. We used to host these events back in 2018, I think was our last one. It was just so much fun. And so it's happening again. One thing I want to tell people, there's only 6 spots left. I mean, it's such a popular event, it's filling. So if you want to attend, please sign up and reserve your spot right away. Lastly, if you've seen email go around, there is an event coming up called Kimberbell Day. And it was announced yesterday. Now, Kimberbell Day is an opportunity to virtually sew with Kim from Kimberbell. And you go online, you register for the event, and when you register, you get 1 free quilting pattern that'll be downloaded to your account. And she will be running an entire day, 1 to be working with this quilt pattern, and 1 is going to be to make a Christmas ornament, and the other is a Halloween pillow. And these kits for these items are something you buy from your retailer. So we want to know anybody that has any interest in doing the Kimberbell Day, because we would need to order the kit for you. So when you're checking out today, let us know about this. The kits are a complete event kit, and a complete event usually is a $200 event. The kits usually run close to $100, but they are selling these kits for this event day for $49. So you will get a full event kit for Halloween or Christmas or both. But if you're interested in doing it, let us know, because we need to pre-order our kits now.
And one is Winter Wonderland. The
Winter
dates.
Wonderland is the event they had with the Advent calendar. And you'll be stitching out the little cardinal Christmas ornament. And the other one was Haunted Homes. And that was a Halloween that they have a linen pillow that has bats on it. And it's a pretty cool pillow.
And they have a
And-
velvet pumpkin that's really
Yeah,
gorgeous.
3D velvet pumpkin, and it's really pretty awesome. So if you'd like to get the kit, and we will be sending around information on how to get yourself registered. We discussed as a store actually holding the event here and stitching out here, but the times they chose, Kimberbell starts the event at 9 a.m. Well, they're Mountain Time. That would be 8 a.m. here, and we would have you all here at 7 so we could set up the whole thing. So we thought, you know what, do your virtual and know that we will be running discounted pricing on Kimberbell to honor the Kimberbell Day. So our inventory will be discounted for Kimberbell Day. Okay, and then let's see. Again, I was going to remind you all that for Roxanne, we're going to scan the patterns that she passed out today. And then we are going to give you a link to the Etsy shop, the YouTube shop. But the 3 patterns that you see here on the wall, we do have for sale at the register. So if anybody would like to pick those up. And if any tools she talked about are not on the table, let us know. We would love to, we're going to be ordering them back in soon. And then quickly, thank you, Laura. Here's an example of some of the wonderful By Annie products. This is a small tote that you could maybe put your remote controls in, or your sewing things, or just a lot of different things you could do at art supplies. And it has handles, and it has really nice pockets on the inside. It's a lovely bag, but this is one of the advanced projects we would talk about doing in the future. The 101 classes, one is a phone case. And the phone case will allow us to learn how her techniques for zipper insertion and her technique for working with bias binding. So it's really a fun little phone case. The other one is called an Easy Does It case. And the Easy Does It case is really fun because when you open it and look inside, all the seams are finished. I mean, even if you had one of those zippers that flipped all the way around, you could almost make this a reversible bag because the finishing work is so lovely. So learning those techniques, I think, will really set everybody up for success when we launch into more complex bag making. Okay, so
And there's the project bag.
oh, and a project bag. This is the other.
101.
Is a project bag. And the project bag, again, we have the zipper, but the nice thing we're learning in the project bag is a lot of her patterns, you quilt fabric before you start cutting it. And so learning those techniques on how do I get my fabric ready. So all this quilting on the outside of these bags is actually done before you even cut the fabric. And it makes it slick and really fun. All right, with that said, my next question is, did anybody bring show and tell? Oh, let's see. I have show and
Come
tell.
forward.
Okay,
I think we'll stage exactly.
If we stay right
that would
here.
be good.
Yeah.
okay,
Perfect.
okay, I know none of you ladies have UFOs. No.
No.
Right.
Angie has, I know she
Nothing.
has none. I am a piecer, I am not a quilter. I have a laundry basket with about 22 tops. So I thought, I gotta start. And I always liked Kay Wood, she always had patterns for pointless people.
Oh, yes.
This isn't her pattern, but this is a pointless block. And I was going to make a big giant
Look how fun
quilt.
that fabric is.
Mm-mm.
But I think, I'm trying to think, it's maple leaf or something. She uses the really big prints that you don't want to cut up. And so I was going to make it into a giant quilt, but I didn't have enough fabric, so we have its twin, identical twin.
Good.
And so, yeah. And so this is, I'm gonna get the binding on, but
That's
I
beautiful.
probably did this at a quilt retreat 5-6 years ago, made the top.
Awesome.
Now,
And did you machine quilt it?
I had it done.
I think you did.
Now the next thing is that binding and that four-letter word called hand. I'll figure out how not to do that. This jacket I finished almost completely before COVID started. It has been sitting on a dress form, waiting for
Gloria.
me to put the, they're not really toggles, they're
Frogs.
closures, yeah.
Closures, yeah.
Beautiful.
Some of you know who Katrina Walker is. She started with the Clothing and Textile Advisors, and I've known her for years. And she did an article in Sew News using this embroidery pattern. Well, they didn't carry it here. Happened to go to in Tukwila.
Mhm.
They had it on the cruise table because, and I thought, her pattern just hit the mark. So I got it for $10. I thought, okay. So this thing unfortunately is wool serge, so I can only wear it with a turtleneck. But,
Just beautiful.
It's beautiful.
and so
She
that,
always does her jackets that way.
yeah, so,
Gorgeous jacket.
but then, this isn't a UFO. I finally got my Hoffman Challenge vest back from this year.
Oh,
What does UFO stand for?
Unfinished
Objects.
objects.
All right.
And nobody in this room but me has any. Okay.
You are delusional, let me tell you
I
about it.
had 38 boxes at home that my daughter said I had to do one a month before I could
Die.
start something else.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Okay, this is my vest that was in the Hoffman Challenge. I knew going into it, it would make the traveling show because I didn't have enough time. My son and I went on a 2-week cruise and then I got COVID and had to spend another 10 days in Barcelona. So it was a good thing that I had scaled it down. But the coat that took third, same basic idea with sleeves.
Oh,
And I call it Bear in the Woods, those of you who know.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's all.
There's the bear paw. On everybody's mailing list, so I got this teeny weeny dream catcher. That bear button was like a coconut husk type thing, but it was white. It was a polar bear. And I thought that wasn't white. So I took a fabric marker but
it's no longer white.
it's no longer white. And so that's Bear in the Woods.
That is
Awesome.
amazing.
So
Beautiful.
How many times have you had things in the traveling show? You've
all
lost count.
but one.
Yeah,
All but one, and I realized what they do not want you to do is to over embellish their fabric. They want you to enhance the fabric but not over embellish it. And so I've taken honorable mention once and third place twice, and it's an international show. So but
You should be pleased with that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah, so.
Great job, Gloria.
Thank you, Gloria.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. That's awesome.
I made this t-shirt. I got this pattern at Puyallup. It's from the Islander.
One of my
So it's
cool.
Oh, it is.
And is this t-shirt here?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, so-
I love the tie-dye. That's
Yeah.
really pretty.
And it was only, I think, like 3 pieces.
Oh, my gosh.
Very cool. And then this, I also got this pattern in Puyallup, I think, or maybe I got it here. But I got the fabric at the Sewing Expo. I've never tried cork before,
Oh,
so it's
what
actually
a
pretty
fun
easy.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't seen that color. That's really neat.
That's
so
awesome.
it's just like sewing with regular fabric.
Mhm.
Was it expensive? Not that I remember. I still have enough for like 3 or 4 more ones. Very cool.
That's awesome. Did you have things?
No.
Oh, I
I
do.
just needed to stand up. You want to help with that?
I got, here, I'll let you help. I went to Missouri Star and I was working with Heather Peterson from Annika's Treasures. So this is all Riley Blake fabric, and took a class from her and had a great time there. But one tip that I'm going to tell you about what I did. Can you see this little crosshatch that happens in this border binding? This is going to be my nemesis, to be able to line this up perfect, get all the way to the other end and line it up perfect. I'll always cut a half inch off or whatever. I can never measure correctly. So you know what I did? I did it like you would binding. I took 2 pieces of fabric. I lined this up perfect, sewed it down to about this far, did it again on that end, sewed it this far, and then like she was showing you with the rulers, did it like you would binding, sewing across, and right here, there's the angle. So just like you would finish your binding, that's how I finished this, so that I could line these up perfect, because that I can do on one wall. Okay?
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really good job.
Trying to make those things line up.
What's the name of that pattern?
You know, I don't know, but I know it's from Annika's Treasures, and it's her new fabric line. Yep. Okay.
So Roxanne said she could not haul all of her quilts, so I said, well, I could bring a few of mine.
Okay.
And
And-
these are Roxanne's
Yeah,
patterns.
these are Roxanne's
This is, I
patterns.
don't even remember.
She does not remember making this, but she gave it to me for Christmas.
Oh,
Probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow, look at that.
that beautiful.
I was playing around with a design that somebody gave me, a cross-stitch design. And on the computer, I was playing around with it, and this is what I came up with, so. I knew
Oh, that's
Angie liked the Indian motif or.
Yeah, yeah. I like that, but Roxanne knows, I hate log cabins. I will not do them. If she puts them into a sampler, I will not make that block. I will find something else.
So beautiful.
This one though is called Gypsy Star, and it's a positive, negative block. So you've got your printed star, and here you've got your background star. So it really makes a pretty design.
And it looks complicated, but it's really
It
easy.
really is, it's just the same block and half squares.
My best friend Sylvia made it, and she does not use pins to match anything. And it turned out. See, Sylvia, I'm giving you credit. She's watching.
Hi, Sylvia.
This is a really, really, really old pattern. One of the first ones I did. It's called Rainbow Stars. And this was using the Dragonfly iridescent fabric from Maywood and the Star Design hand-dyed fabrics. So, and this is just woven right. What I liked about it was all the cool colors went one direction and the warm colors went the other direction, interweaving into each other.
That's cool.
And she,
Isn't that beautiful?
the instructions made it so easy for it all to go together.
And what's the name of that?
It's woven rainbows. There we go.
But yeah, that's gotta be.
And this was blocks from one of my samplers, but she did her own thing.
I did. I'm just trying to see if I did not put a date on that
Here's
label.
2004.
Oh,
I
2004.
began to quilt in September 2004 and finished in 2005.
Always label your quilts. Because
Get finished first.
someone somewhere down the road is going to want to know the
Yeah.
history of a quilt.
But it's some of my sampler blocks. I've done a sampler every year since 2000, and so it's.
And I had this fabric that I wanted to do, and you could see that a bunch of the blocks have fussy cut centers.
Yeah.
And the border was a border print that I fussy cut to make certain, and added some blacks in places to make it fit the way I wanted it
Oh,
to.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
That would look good on my bed.
You got the t-shirt quilt meant for me.
That's
I was gonna
right.
say, no, Carrie has dibs on that.
Yeah, Carrie already.
Yeah, she,
I think her name's on the label.
yeah. And this one, I have to tell the story. Mo and Roxanne have already heard it. When I first started quilting 20 some odd years ago, Roxanne, I saw this quilt hanging in Quiltworks Northwest, and I had been quilting maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And a friend and I were taking the classes together, and it's like, oh my God, I have to make this quilt. So we started this quilt, and I methodically measured and did everything, but if you know this pattern, everything is on the bias. So I got sections of it made, I put it away. Roxanne kept bugging me. You need to finish it. You need to finish it. Every time I saw it, when are you gonna finish it? And I must have put it away for, I don't know, 5 or 8 years. And I finally told her, Roxanne, my problem is I was so new to quilting, and that is just such a difficult quilt. Everything has to match just right, you know? And I'm afraid it's not gonna work. She said, she smiled at me very lovingly and said, Angie, you were anal then, it will work. And the last seam that you sew on this, it comes down at an angle, it goes across, and it goes down at an angle. And your real test is in that very middle, do those seams all match? You can all go and look, those seams match perfectly. I was very proud of myself.
Sure did a good
That's
job.
Yes.
awesome. It's
So-
beautiful.
But
It's
I
called
love that
Compass
quilt.
Star.
Compass Star.
It is on my Etsy shop.
Awesome.
Yes,
It's amazing how many people want to
Yeah.
start
Yes,
it
it's my pet.
and
I
make
know,
something like that.
I know. And, you know,
I got one of Judy.
But Lynn and I
Machine's,
both
wanted
made
to pull
them.
my hair out.
and
Yeah.
I thought it was.
she got
I
hers made
still don't have
earlier,
a finish, just-
and
I
took back
I don't do
prize
any
and
Judy
bought
Neal.
party
It's
favors.
like a waste of fabric.
Yeah.
I met Harry Carey.
So, but
So,
Okay, is
Okay.
that it?
I
Should
think
we
that's
say
it.
goodbye to our online people?
bye.
Bye, everyone, for joining us.
And remember, we'll let you know if you won something. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.